The following video features an adult collectible or collectibles based on a movie franchise that is primarily R-rated. It is not intended for viewers under the age of 13. It may contain descriptions or images that could be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. What's up, Predator fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast of the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network, here with a look at the Neca Jungle Hunter figure of the Predator. So I was very happy to luck into this at a Target recently. This is an adult collectible meant for ages 17 and up. I like the packaging and I can't wait to get the figure out of the box and have a look at all of the accessories. But let's go ahead and take a look at the package details now. We get this Predator logo on the top as well as on the side. We also see that on the opposite side, and on the bottom of the packaging, we see the entire creative team. On the front of the packaging, we see the famous Yautja mask, and this has a flap that opens up, and we get a really gorgeous product shot here. Through the front window of the packaging, we see the various accessories as well as the figure. And I really like the fact that in the back here, it's not just a simple color. It actually has like jungle artwork in the back. So this should be very attractive to mint in box collectors because this really does look good. If you would just put this on a shelf with the flap open, there's a lot to like here. But all of that being said, I can't wait to get my hands on this figure and all of the accessories that come with it. So now I think it's time to bust this figure out of the package and see what's inside. Here is the figure free of the outer packaging, but still bound to the inner plastic. Here is a closer look at that jungle art with the figure out of the package. And another thing that I want to say is it was very easy to get the figure out of this outer box without doing any damage to it. So I appreciate that. If you want to take the figure out and just look at it and eventually replace it, you should be able to do that without destroying the outer box. As you can see, just a plethora of accessories come with this figure. We get the skull accessory. Lots of great detail there. The texturing looks just magnificent on this. We get the removable mask for the alternate head here. This is the cannon blast effect, and I will be putting that on the cannon before this review is done. I really like the way that this translucent plastic looks. I like the detail with the blue and the white. Of course, we get the alternate set of hands here, and they come with a hinged peg. And we also get the skull and spine. This is obviously a trophy for the Jungle Hunter. It looks aged. I like that a lot. And here we have the removable piece of shoulder armor with the cannon. Lots of magnificent detail here. You can see all of these little lines that have been sculpted in. And this has a little hinge itself, so you can move this. Be very careful, though. That feels like something that would break pretty easily. It's very small. So, again, take care. And, of course, we have the alternate head with the Yautja face. Really like all this definition here on the skin. The eyes are a little difficult to see. I would have liked for the mandibles to have been down just a little bit more. But again, you can feel the texture if you have this up close. It really does feel like, an alien type of skin. And of course, we get the locks back here. And they're fairly pliable. They're enough to let you get this onto the figure itself. You can't really do too much with them beyond that. It feels like if you play with these too much, you might do some damage. So I wouldn't, try to do too much with these. But I still appreciate all of this attention to detail. And here we see the Jungle Hunter out of the package and ready to collect his Grizzly trophies. What can I say about this figure? It is so amazing. There is so much attention to detail. There is so much collector service here. It's just awesome to have a collectible of one of the most iconic movie monsters of all time. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at the loose details now. Let's have a look at the lower body now. And one of the first things that I'd like to say is that this figure is sturdy. And that may be a point of contention for some collectors. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I just want to point out all of the various points of detail here. Just how reptilian this skin looks. Got all of these armor pieces here on the lower legs. Now, I do want to point out, I really like the way the feet look. Love the attention to detail there. But they've been molded in such a way on the bottom to give the figure stability. Now, I think that's a great idea. Some collectors may say, well, that's not accurate. I want complete accuracy. I would much rather for a loose figure to not be in constant danger of falling, especially if it has very delicate parts. So I'm fine with that. Really like these segmented pieces of armor here and all of the detail that you can see. They look like they have been in battle. Yeah, so amazing. So you can get this loincloth to lift up a little bit. I really like the dark wash that this has been given. Lots of wrinkles sculpted in. Yeah, just really fine work here. You see these individual strands here on the loincloth. Yeah, just really, really cool. In terms of lower body articulation, you can get the ankle to swivel side to side easily. And there is a little bit of back and forth movement here. This one moves a little bit easier than the other one. But again, that does help you get the figure into various poses. And I really appreciate these double jointed knees. So if you want to get him into a running pose, you can. You can really get this leg to go up very far. So, that looks kind of weird for a Predator, but nonetheless, I just really appreciate that level of articulation. I would have liked some kind of quadricep swivel, but we don't get that. You can get him to kick forward a little bit, so that could be better. Same thing for this opposite leg. You can get him to move his legs out to the side considerably, but I would be careful with these pieces. They are pliable, but I wouldn't do this haphazardly. It feels like you could snap one of these off. And also you have to worry about these little plastic tassels that come with the loincloth. So again, be careful here, but you can get him to step back, in kind of a fighting pose like this. So I think there's a good amount of articulation here. You can see this leg goes pretty far back. Really, other than the quadricep swivel and having the figure kick forward, I really would have preferred more there. But with the amount of detail that we get here, I really can't complain too much. So I popped off the head sculpt to show you some of the various adornments on the torso. So I was able to slip these off easily without endangering these pieces. This looks like little pieces of spinal column here. I like the detail there. And again, this is pliable, so it was easy to slip it on and off. These look like little rodent skulls. You can see the ocular sockets there. This necklace is comprised of very small bones, and I'm guessing these are like finger or toe bones from various prey. And as I said before, it's very easy to slip these off of the torso without having to worry that you're going to do damage to them. So here's a closer look at the torso. And again, just amazing detail. Texturing is top notch. I like these armor pieces here. And these hoses, they don't feel fragile. At the same time, I wouldn't stress them out too much. But I like how this connects to this armor piece here. You can see all the detail on that. Now, the lower torso pivots side to side. And the upper torso has a swivel. So again, lots of great movement here. It doesn't move as well over to this side because of the armor piece. Here's a look at the back. And here's a close-up of the back, and you can see this superb level of texturing here. You can see that the skin that's visible underneath the backpack apparatus and the skin on the lower lumbar and the skin on the arms, those all look different. That's the kind of production that really gives a figure an element of realism. So the shoulder armor has two little ports here. One is right here, the other's on the shoulder, and I'm going to go ahead and port the shoulder cannon into the figure. So I was finally able to get that in. It really took some cajoling. This is very tight, and I was finally able to get the two little pieces of plastic to port into the holes. But here you can see the shoulder cannon apparatus once it is on the figure. So let's have a look at the arms now. And the first thing I want to look at is this gauntlet that has a panel that opens here. And of course, we remember that was the climactic scene in Predator where we realized that this is actually an explosive device and the Predator nearly kills Dutch. Lots of great detail here. And it's kind of difficult to see. He actually does have like the little like red specks that, you know, denote the countdown that we saw. They're kind of difficult to see, but they are there. Lots of great detail on this gauntlet. Here's a look at the hands. Again, very intricate detailing here. The paint applications are amazing. Here we have the gauntlet on the opposite arm. And again, lots of really intricate sculpting here. And of course, we get the famous Yautja double blade. And this actually can pull out. So you can get it to come out that far. And I really like how sharp these look. It's just plastic, but it does look like metal. Looks very threatening. So yeah, I really, really appreciate that. In terms of articulation, there's good movement here at the wrist. This one's hindered a little bit by the blades, but nonetheless, you can get it to move very well. And I'm going to put the alternate set of hands on in just a minute. Double jointed elbows, so you can get him to fold his arm that far. Also a bicep swivel. So if you're doing stop motion and you want to do a slashing motion, you certainly can. The only drawback I see is the shoulders. Although they do go around 360 degrees, you really can't get him to raise either arm up. They're just not made to do that. There's no butterfly joint. And so you can get him to have his arms out like this by utilizing, and again, this blocks the bicep swivel over here. So there is limited movement there, but you can get his arms to go out like this by utilizing the bicep swivel. So you see the cannon blast effect here. There's a little peg on the end. And it just ports into the cannon like this. And there you have it. Now, I think this looks magnificent. However, I would worry about this being in the shoulder cannon for too long because I would worry about such a small joint supporting this over time. So I'm not going to display my figure with this accessory, but there's no doubt that it will be attractive to some collectors. So this hand is like a fist with an extended thumb. You really can't get anything into it. Although, again, I do appreciate all of the paint work on this. Good sculpting. With this one, I went ahead and worked the skull and the spinal column into it. The fingers are pretty pliable, so I gently kind of pulled them out and then slipped this into that hand. And here we have a look at the alternate set of hands. Here's a close-up of the two head sculpts. And they really both have their merits. It's a tough choice as to which one to display on the figure, but I think I'm going with the unmasked version. It's a lot of detail there. And of course, if you want to have the figure with the unmasked head sculpt, you have this, like you could have him holding this in his hand, like right when he drops that at the end of the movie to fight Dutch. But before I put on that unmasked head sculpt, I've got to say how much I appreciate the coloring on this. I really like this gunmetal gray on the mask. Oh, it's sculpted really well. You can see all the little details here on the side, like the laser sight. Yeah, that's really impressive. I also have to say, I think these locks for this head sculpt are a little bit easier to move around. They're just a little bit more pliable than the other head sculpt. But yeah, just excellent work here by Neca. Here we have the unmasked head sculpt on the figure. And it really does look superb. You know, and I mentioned earlier in this video how I wished that the mandibles would have been down a little bit more to see the eyes better. I really think that an alternate set of mandibles, open mandibles, would have been really attractive for this figure, so we could see the paint applications like on the inner part of the mouth a little bit better. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to do the same. Stay tuned for some articulation shots, and also remember to catch me on the Multiverse Musings vidcast, available right here on YouTube. And I'll be back to the internet with more Predator-related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.